Hello, welcome back to Kelly and Wrighty. We've got a huge few days of midweek football coming up with 18 of the 20 clubs in action over the next few days. It starts on Tuesday with Brighton against Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace against Wolves. Wednesday, Bournemouth, Southampton, Brentford take on Chelsea, Liverpool at home to West Ham, Newcastle up against Everton, Manchester United against Spurs, and that one is really one to look forward to. Fulham up against Aston Villa, Leicester City against Leeds United, but we are going to focus on the standout fixture of the week, which is Manchester United against Spurs, fifth in the table against third at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Spurs, always another one that's always a good fixture, or at least an interesting fixture, or one that feels it has some significance. Do we know what Eric Ten Hag's Manchester United looks like, what he wants it to look like now?
I think reading Luke Shaw's comments, saying that he can see what's happening in training, it's going to take time for it to get into the games, for the confidence to come through, especially with like Eriksen missing as well. But they want to play quick, they want to play through the lines, they want to create chances. But I think up to this point in the season, I think they've only had 42 shots on target, something like that, and it's not enough really for Man United. But at the same time, it's slowly coming because they're creating chances. They are creating chances. We sort of missed the chances, but it comes with the confidence of what you're seeing happening day to day in training, starting to happen on the pitch. So you can see it a little bit, but you can see that they're still trying to get there.
Just on exactly that, right? Someone put to me yesterday when we connected United after the 0-0 draw with Newcastle, said you can see actually things coming together, but it looks like a team that don't have belief in themselves and scoring at the moment. Yeah. Which is quite interesting, I suppose, that would collectively.
Yeah, but the only thing that happens with that, Megan, Sean might be able to enlarge, is when you're trying something and you're trying it, but then you don't get the outcome as it happened. You start to think, oh gosh, I don't want to try that no more. It's not quite what you you're a little bit apprehensive about doing it rather than just going through and doing it and try to do it, because that's what Man United have to do. It's like they have to break through something and do it, because even to a certain extent, I was watching the game, and there's still a lot of sideways passing, not enough movement up front to come to the ball so you can pass through lines. And listening to Luke Shaw saying that's what they want to do, you're not seeing enough of it. But at the same time, they are getting into positions where they're creating chances where they can score.
And just in relation to that, I suppose, given it's on a kind of if it's a kind of an education path in terms of the coaching. I mean, that was Arsenal 2 years ago. Yeah. Remember, so often it was kind of just that straight, flat passing. And kind of a lot of kind of low-scoring games. Yeah.
And now look where we are now that we're passing through.
But I think it feels as though there are genuine. We've touched on this a couple of times. It feels like there are real similarities with where Manchester United are now and where Arsenal were. Not least in the fact that they've got a big-name player that they're not quite sure how to get the best out of. Do you play Cristiano Ronaldo? Do you bring him off? If you do bring him off.
I don't bring him off, that's for sure.
I think you've got to play him. I think, like everyone's saying, one thing they're lacking is goals. That's one thing that man can get you, is goals. Yeah. So for the time being, I think just try to create chances for him. And for a winger, he's perfect. You can hang the ball up. Chances are he's going to get there. Chop it back, he'll get there. He'll make those runs. No matter how old he is, you can see he still wants to make the runs that he used to make.
And you look at it as well, Kels, and like Sean was saying about it, you get it in there because unfortunately for Marcus, that header, he's trying to be very precise from where he was. I'd rather you make the goalkeeper make a save than miss the whole goal from there, because that's the kind of thing where it's literally last head of the game, and everybody, as soon as that happens, everybody says, if Ronaldo's on, he scores that. And he does. He does. So when you see him coming off, I can see how disappointed he is, and I think to myself, you never want to see somebody coming off, and especially of his stature, and having been so surly and all this stuff. But at the same time, he's a match winner. He's a match winner. So when the game's on the line, you don't take him off. You leave him on, because that's what he does.
But even having said that, so Rashford is on the pitch. He does miss that header right at the very, very end of the game. And it sort of speaks to what Miguel was saying about Manchester United not believing that they're going to be able to outscore teams. And that puts a kind of nervousness on the defence as well. That if we concede one, we're going to struggle.
Yeah, that's the manager's job. To make them believe, I feel like the manager has to bring that into them, because players go through things like that and phases like that. And I think if you look at Klopp with Liverpool, they've gone through a phase like that, and then they turn up, they play well, and the person that everybody's given stick to goes and scores the winning goals. So the manager has to give them that belief and let them believe that, listen, you can do this. We've run through walls together. So I can't see the manager not doing that at United, because that seems like the person he is, and they have all the qualities there.
Have you ever found yourself in the situation where a manager comes in and everyone's on board with the message, they're all kind of buying into it in training, but it doesn't quite happen in games? It feels as though with what you were saying about Luke Shaw's comments, that everybody understands what Ten Hag wants to do, but when they get onto the pitch, they've lost one game and drawn one in the last 7. There's 5 wins in there, and some of the performances have been a lot better than what we saw yesterday. But that sometimes there's only so many times that you can try what the manager wants you to do without it bearing fruit. That at some stage you go, OK,
but Kels,
I can't keep doing this.
You have to believe in the process, because that's how the manager...
But for how long?
Yeah, but until you start to, take the chances, then you start winning games, then all of a sudden you take more of those chances, then you start playing better, then you start to feel like, oh, we're more confident with what we're doing, and then you keep doing it, because it's not like, OK, because they lose confidence when they're doing it, I'm going to change again. You can't do that. They've got to blast through that. And it's the same thing, like, the way they blasted it through, Rashford went through, and I couldn't understand why he didn't go for goal. And again, that's a confidence thing. And what the manager's got to do is just got to continue to give him confidence.
Is that where the Ronaldo issue kind of maybe causes a little bit of a complication? I remember hearing similar when he went to Juventus. It was exact same time as Juventus tried to change approach to something like what Arteta would play or what Guardiola would play. But it was difficult to impose, because when you had Ronaldo, he was always the outball.
Yeah.
So it almost kind of, he'll get you the win, but it delays the learning process. Is that... If you know what I mean.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. And that's what's happening at Man United. You like to feel that Ten Hag, if he didn't have Cristiano Ronaldo, he probably would he might be further on with what he's trying to do. But, you take
So it's a bit like teaching a kid how to do long division, but if you just give them a calculator, they'll never learn.
Exactly.
And Ronaldo's like the calculator.
He's like the you can't. It's like the cheat code. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's there, and like he wants to do something, but he's got this superstar legend of the game that he has to do something with, and so, unfortunately, again, for me, he's taken him off, and when you feel like if he was on, they'd probably win the game. So, how does that help the team? How does it work? Because I say, Rashford had 2 chances that you'd like to feel that if Ronaldo had those chances running through, he probably does better with them. But at the same time, Ten Hag's trying to play a brand of football that is going to be here whether Ronaldo's there or not, that's what he's trying to do it, but he's there and it's kind of hindering him.
It's interesting that they come up against Spurs, because Conte very clearly has a definite way that he wants them to approach their games. It's a bit different from what he's done previously, but there's definitely a Spurs blueprint in there. Yeah,
it's actually, I've been surprised at how... Now, apparently, Conte doesn't like his football being described as counter-attacking, and if you bring it up in a press conference, he will correct you.
Really?
But it is very different.
You now want to interview Conte and tell him about counter-attacking, don't you?
But it's very different to what he did with Juventus and with Italy, and to a certain extent, some with Chelsea. Although I think he kind of did lean into that with Chelsea gradually. Now, I've been told separately by people who know him in Italy that there's a thinking that one of the reasons that Spurs look a little bit stale at the moment is because he's trying to conserve their energy and their kind of their physical output for the season for after the World Cup. Right. So he's consciously kind of having them playing a bit more restrained right now, and that could prove, if it's true, could prove.
Did you say restrained? He's just parking the bus. Well, Mourinho got the sack for that, doing the same thing, basically.
The thing is, when I watched them at the Emirates again, I don't know what else you'd call them. You don't call them counter-attacking, simply because they were so deep in their own box. There's no other way that you can describe how they were playing. I thought that they weren't tight enough on people, and we know that they're capable of breaking and bam, Harry Kane or Son, and then the game's over. But you can't. I don't think you can describe Spurs as anything at the moment other than counter-attacking, because they haven't got that player in the midfield that links the play, so you can play out and play like a possession game, and then people make runs off of the fact that you're building through the midfield. So I can't understand why he corrects that, because I see Tottenham as a pure counter-attacking side.
And even the midfielders he signed generally tend to be runners rather than actual passers.
Yes.
And they find themselves, level on points with Manchester City. They're getting the results that way, and it's why it's quite an interesting comparison with Manchester United, in that they're sort of playing a certain way, Spurs. The fans aren't particularly buying into it. I know quite a few Spurs fans who've been saying, we've not been that good this season. Even not, I mean, North London derby aside, even in the games we've been getting results, we've not been playing that well. And yet they find themselves in a really strong position. It seems like if you're saying it's about getting ready for the World Cup and preparing, it feels really well calculated.
I mean, that's a potentially interesting thing about their season, whether maybe in January, February, they explode and we're hailing Conte as a genius, that he maybe sees this as a kind of an opportunity for Spurs.
That's almost like a reverse Mourinho, isn't it? Because he would sort of send teams out fast at the start of the season and then tighten it up for the title run in.
But we won't know the truth of that until after Christmas.
And then as well, Miggy, what he might have a player in mind that come in. You don't know that. Like with them, when their fitness and them just staying amongst it, it feels at the moment like they're creeping up. No one's speaking about them too much. Everybody's talking about how they're not this or they're not that. But at the same time, we've got an elite manager with elite players in Tottenham's side. And if that happens, Kels, where all of a sudden he adds a couple of players to that after the World Cup, and then they're still in touch, you have to start looking at Spurs because they're not playing unbelievably right now. And they're in touch. Yeah.
And with their 2 stars firing, basically.
Yes.
2 stars absolutely firing, and a brilliant, rock-solid relationship between their main star, Harry Kane, and the manager, Antonio Conte, which, again, is a kind of a contrast to what's going on at Manchester United, where you feel that Ten Hag would rather not have to factor Ronaldo into the equation. But conversely, at Spurs, you've got someone who is absolutely the person that the team seems to be guaranteed to get the best out of.
Yes, and we're talking about somebody who... that's it now with Harry. You'd have thought that he's going to be at Tottenham now.
I mean, there's all these murmurs of Bayern Munich. Oh, I just can't see him moving away.
With all due respect to Bayern Munich, if Conte's staying, I'm probably staying because, like I say, you just look at it, and the way that we don't know what's going to happen after the World Cup. We don't know how everything's going to pan out because of having it in this crazy times, crazy. But the fact is, if they come back and they're in touch, and I just feel like something is going to happen this season that is not in the ordinary. I really feel that.
I'd agree because it's such an unknown.
Yeah.
And it's what Harry Kane wants to achieve now in his career, isn't it? I mean, you could go to Bayern Munich, win the title in Germany, maybe have a chance at winning
if he'd done that,
the
Kelsey,
Champions League.
He still wouldn't get the kind of recognition. And I'm not being disrespectful to the Bundesliga or Bayern Munich, but if Harry Kane stayed here with Conte, you have to say that's the best chance, especially trying to beat a City side. That's the best chance you've got of trying to win the Premier League here with what they're trying to do. So why take the chance of going there? And even if you do win the Bundesliga, people are not going to give you the credit for it.
It didn't hurt Robert Lewandowski, did it?
No, it's not hurt Robert Lewandowski, but at the same time, we're talking about Harry Kane, who hasn't won anything.
Yeah. So it's whether or not you take that gamble of staying at Spurs and potentially not winning a trophy, although Conte's won trophies everywhere he's been. So you put your eggs in that basket.
I'd rather stay at Spurs and try there because of the stature that he'll have there. He'll probably get a statue and all that sort of stuff if he can do that. But
do you think he'll have one eye on Alan Shearer's Premier League scoring record? Do you think there's a personal achievement in there as well?
Without a doubt, you could see that that's something that he would he'd go for, and it's something that he's probably going for. You'd have to say that with Harry Kane, and he's the kind of player that I'd love for his loyalty to the club. And we saw what he wanted to do with City. We knew he wanted to leave, but his loyalty to the club, I'd love for him to have a real blast and get something because he's been an unbelievable pro.
Yeah.
Do you think they will win a trophy with Harry Kane at Tottenham?
I think that
under Conte,
I think under Conte they will,
sure.
And I think that, like I say, this season because it's so different with the World Cup, with them being in and around it, with Conte, he's going to push that team. Maybe come after January, Kels, they'll blast out of it more and they'll really go for it because you're still not seeing like Son at his real best. Kulusevski's not at his really best yet. We've seen Bentancur starting to do a bit. We know Harry Kane's going to score, but you have to say if they add something to it and City keep slipping up like they did the other day.
Why City? You can just say Arsenal. Arsenal may slip up.
No, with City maybe slipping up, they might be able to catch them. So, we'll see how it goes.
We'll finish second behind Arsenal.
Our goal is top four, and then we'll see where we go from there.
It's when we were talking about Conte preparing for this season, which is unique in that it has a World Cup in the middle of it. Richarlison is one of the players who they were a bit worried about. He was in tears when he got injured at the weekend. But Conte's been talking about it. He's set to have an MRI scan, but they think it's not as serious as they first thought, and that there is a chance of him being able to get to the World Cup, Richarlison. I mean, if you're Antonio Conte, do you want him going to the World Cup?
This is the thing. Like, Conte's been asked about the World Cup. Like, does he really care? I mean, he obviously has to talk about what's best for his player. But like, I mean, his concern is Spurs, and he's answering questions on Brazil.
You wouldn't want, especially like I say, this season is the one where we don't know what's going to happen. You wouldn't want someone like Richarlison going if he's struggling. But when you see a player go down and he reacts like that, you always feel like there's something. It's not good. Yeah, it's not good.